See, you don't quit it, and you don't quit in sports. You retire. You don't get to quit. It's not an option. See, someone told me that a long time ago. That ain't even an option. And the person told me that, he ain't here anymore. He died. This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Randall Handles Football Podcast. I am your host, Randall Tevis. So this week marks the beginning of Week 7 in the NFL season. Again, a season that has been different and unique, to say the least, due to the coronavirus. Already there have been games that have been shuffled around, rescheduled, games canceled, so on and so forth. And this week of Week 7 is no different. This week we see the rematch, or I should say the makeup game, between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans. Now, back from Week 4, when this game was hyped up to be two undefeated teams, we were like, yeah, okay, I agree. But maybe if this game is rescheduled to Week 7, these teams probably won't be undefeated anymore. Well, guess what? They both still are undefeated. So we still have the undefeated Steelers taking on the undefeated Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. So it's going to be a very exciting game. I'm looking forward to that. One of the biggest things that I have enjoyed because of this weird season is getting to watch double headers on Monday Night Football, getting to watch a game on Tuesday night, so on and so forth. It's been a weird schedule, but hey, at least it's benefited us fans because they're at least airing these games in live national television. So can't complain there. So last week, throughout all of my picks in Week 6, I correctly predicted 10 games and incorrectly picked 4 games. My lock of the week last week was the Miami Dolphins, and they definitely took care of business against the New York Jets and nearly shut them out. My upset of the week came a couple of seconds away from coming true, as I picked the Houston Texans to beat the aforementioned Tennessee Titans, and it took a last-second touchdown pass by Ryan Tannehill to even bring that game to overtime. And in overtime, another touchdown. Houston never even got to touch the ball, and that was unfortunate. That was all she wrote. There was a questionable call towards the end of that game when the Houston Texans decided to go for a 2-point conversion when they scored a touchdown with about 2 minutes remaining. If they would have kicked the extra point, they would have been up by 8 points and would have forced a 2-point conversion there at the end of the game by the Tennessee Titans. But instead, they went for the 2-point conversion to really seal the game and go up by 9 points instead, and ultimately came up a little bit short. So sometimes when you're not a very good football team, that's the way that the ball rolls. So there you have it. Overall, 10-4 last week, with my upset being incorrect, but my lock of the week being correct. So this week in Week 7, we'll run through all the matchups. Starting off on Thursday Night Football, yes, the return of Thursday Night Football. We actually have a Thursday night game this week. Not a very exciting one if you ask me, but we have the New York Giants traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Listen, I know the New York Giants got their first win of the season last week against a very poor Washington football team. I don't think any of those teams are going to be very competitive. I have Philadelphia winning this game. This could end up being a get-right game for the Philadelphia Eagles and Carson Wentz. I expect that the Eagles to really put on a showing here against the Giants, especially if they want to be taken seriously. So I have Philadelphia winning. I think their defense is going to step up. I think Carson Wentz is going to step up. And it's going to be a good overall team performance against the Giants on Thursday Night Football. The next game is another NFC East matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Football Team. Of course, back in Week 5, we all saw what happened to Dak Prescott as he absolutely blew up his ankle and obviously is going to be done for the season. So in comes Andy Dalton, and well, needless to say, that was not a very inspiring game that we saw on Monday Night Football between the Cardinals and the Cowboys. They mustered only 3 points 58 minutes through the game. and only got their touchdown at about the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. Not a very good showing. Ezekiel Elliott had 2 fumbles. Not good at all. But again, like I said, they're playing the Washington football team. The Washington football team is not a very good team either. I think they've been progressing, but ultimately, the moment they decided to bench Dwayne Haskins for Kyle Allen of all people, not even Alex Smith, I think it showed that you know they had it with Dwayne Haskins. Obviously, they're going to look to draft a quarterback. Obviously, they're going to look at Trevor Lawrence. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know I'm probably going to regret this pick, but I am selecting the Washington football team to win this game against the Dallas Cowboys. I might be eating my words here in a little bit, so we'll see. The next game sees the Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Jets. I would have picked this as my lock of the week. However, way back in week 1, I did choose the Buffalo Bills as my lock of the week to beat the New York Jets, so I cannot pick the Bills again. But listen, they already beat them once. I have the Buffalo Bills winning this game in week 7 against the New York Jets. Looking to see Adam Gase fired any moment now. So we'll see if that happens after an 0-7 start now. The next matchup sees the Carolina Panthers traveling to New Orleans to take on the Saints, and this is my upset of the week, if you may call it that. I have the Carolina Panthers beating the New Orleans Saints. I think Carolina's been playing some good football. I know last week they ran into a good defense in Chicago, and Teddy Bridgewater turned it over 3 times. You know, I think they're going to get McCaffrey back soon. You know, they've been doing good. I have a good feeling about the Panthers this week. Panthers, don't prove me wrong. I have the Panthers winning this game as my upset of the week. The next game sees the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Miami, a West Coast traveling to East Coast to take on the Miami Dolphins. Now, just like I said about Carolina, I think the Chargers have been playing some good football as well. They had their bye week last week to prepare for this game as well. So although they are traveling from West Coast to East Coast, I think Justin Herbert has shown that he's up for the challenge. And I think Los Angeles Chargers squeaked this one out and they beat the Miami Dolphins. As good as Fitzpatrick and the Miami Dolphins offense has been playing, I have the Chargers winning this game. The next game sees the Green Bay Packers taking on the Houston Texans in Houston, and this game is going to be my lock of the week. I have the Packers bouncing back from their blowout loss last week and beating the Houston Texans. The next game sees the Battle of Ohio as the Cleveland Browns travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. I think the Browns are the better team here. I think that Baker Mayfield showed that he is still a little banged up last week. Another week to get healthy and to get right. I think that the Browns do enough to win this game against the Bengals. I think this has the chance to be a very high scoring game as well. So we'll see what happens there. If you remember, back in week 2, these two teams played each other, and the Cleveland Browns did get the win. So I have the Browns going for the sweep of the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's see here. I guess the next game would be the Detroit Lions versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Lions got their second win of the season last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Atlanta Falcons got their first win of the season last week against the Minnesota Vikings. I think it just goes to show how porous of a team Minnesota is this year, even though they were a playoff team last year. I've all about given up hope on Kirk Cousins and that Vikings team. But it'll be interesting to see how Atlanta bounces back and if they can go on a win streak now. But I'm not going to see that happening. I have the Detroit Lions winning this game in Week 7. I think they're the more balanced overall team. They got a good defense. Their offense with Stafford does enough to win games. I have the Detroit Lions win this game. Our next game, I believe it's a Sunday morning game, is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Tennessee Titans. As I said before, it's a battle of undefeated teams. This is a makeup game from a few weeks ago. A very exciting game. We've got 2 undefeated teams battling at it. You got Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers versus Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans. As of right now, if the season ended today, Tannehill would be in serious consideration for the MVP. He's been playing that good. But either way, one of these teams has to lose a game. This is going to be the first time that one of these teams loses. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers going into Tennessee and taking down the Titans. Now, I think that Derrick Henry, I think this game's going to be all about Derrick Henry. If he can put up his monster game like he put up last week against the Titans, then I think Tennessee will be in a really good place to win this game. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Pittsburgh loves to get after the quarterback. They're going to make Ryan Tannehill's day miserable. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning this game in Week 7. So now moving into the Sunday afternoon games, we have the Seattle Seahawks, the undefeated Seattle Seahawks, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And as bad as the Seahawks defense is, I would definitely put them as one of the best teams in the entire NFL. Listen, as long as you have Russell Wilson and you're letting Russ cook, he's very hard to beat. A few weeks ago on Monday Night Football, I believe it was, the Minnesota Vikings were playing the Seattle Seahawks, and the Vikings played a near-perfect game. But guess where they shut out the Seahawks in the entire first half? It was 20-0 going into halftime. Seahawks still found a way to win that game. So, as long as they have Russell Wilson as quarterback, it's hard to bet against them. I have the Seahawks beating the Arizona Cardinals here. I think this is going to be a real good prove-it game for Kyler Murray. He came off a pretty, the stats don't say everything. Of course, they played a good game, but he was 9 of 24 passing. That's pretty bad, especially against a bad Cowboys team. He was definitely off, so it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back in Week 7. I know he did put up those 3 touchdowns, but that means very little to me. So we'll see what happens here. Of course, Seattle is coming off that bye week. All signs are going to point to Seattle in this game. I'm going with Seattle. Our next matchup in Week 7 sees the San Francisco 49ers traveling to New England to take on the Patriots. Patriots coming off a very bad performance last week where they only mustered 11 points against a Broncos team that's missing Von Miller, that's missing... I guess I'll just say missing Von Miller. They're not the same defense that they used to be. That shouldn't be a top 5 defense. So it was really odd to see New England only put up 11 points, especially with Cam Newton starting at quarterback. Of course, Drew Lock did come back to start for Denver. So that might have added to it. But in this game for the 49ers against the Patriots, 49ers had a nice bounce back game. Thanks to Jimmy G actually finally stepping it up. Okay, I think the 49ers continue to roll. They're going to have their have a winning season for the first time since Week 3. And Patriots are going to continue to falling down to 2-4. We all said that this was going to be a bad season for them as soon as Tom Brady left. I think they have a chance to finish up like around 500, but they're definitely not going to be a championship contender. Okay, that ship sailed a long time ago. So I have the 49ers winning this game in Week 7 against the Patriots. Our next matchup sees the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Denver to take on the Broncos. Like I said, Drew Lock is back at quarterback for the Broncos. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been quite himself these past, I'd say, 3 games. I know not Week 6, but Week 5 against the Raiders, they did still put up 32 points. But again, Mahomes had a pretty bad game. Last game as well, I think he threw for under 200 yards. And they really relied on that run game of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So it's good to see that Kansas City can go to its run game if it need be. But I think ultimately they need Patrick Mahomes to really be a step-up quarterback and really show his MVP form. I'm looking to see if he bounces back this game and really has that good performance. I'm going to pick the Chiefs here to win this game. Either way, it's really hard betting against the Chiefs, and I'm definitely not going to start here. So I have the Chiefs beating the Broncos. So that takes us into our Sunday night game, which sees the Chicago Bears traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. That's right. No, sorry. That's my Monday night game. Sunday night game sees the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Now listen, the Raiders are coming off of a huge win against the Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago. It's unfortunate that last week they had that bye week, so they couldn't carry that momentum in. I think they may show up a little bit listless and lifeless for this game. I hope not. It should be an exciting game. But either way, I have the Buccaneers winning this game. Their defense absolutely manhandled Aaron Rodgers and the Packers last week. And so if they can do the same thing, if they can have the same suffocating kind of defense here against the Raiders, and people will really start taking for real, it's going to be a scary Tampa Bay team. That's all I'm going to say. So I have the Buccaneers winning this Sunday night game against the Raiders. Our last game of Week 7 is the Monday Night Football game between the Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Rams. Chicago Bears coming off a good performance by their defense when they beat the Carolina Panthers. The offense, again, as always, will be a little bit shaky. It doesn't matter if it's Trubisky starting. It doesn't matter if it's Foles starting. It's always going to be a little bit shaky, but he does enough to win them the games, and so that's what they've been doing since he took over at quarterback. Los Angeles Rams, Jared Goff coming off of a terrible game against the 49ers. Or is it right there? Right there. San Francisco 49ers. For most of the game, he was completing under 50% of his passes. When going into the game, everybody was bragging about how he's completing 72% of his passes, and he's been an absolutely lights-out first-quarter quarterback. So that didn't happen for the Rams. They fell to a 21-0 deficit pretty quickly and weren't ever really able to rebound from there. Now, with the Bears' defense, it'll be interesting to see how the Rams are able to come back from this game. But I think they can. I think they will do enough to win this game. I have the Bears winning. I have the Los Angeles Rams winning this Monday night game and defeating the Chicago Bears. So running through all of the games again, starting on Thursday night, I have the Eagles beating the Giants. Sunday morning, Washington beating Dallas, Buffalo beating New York Jets, Carolina beating the New Orleans Saints, Los Angeles Chargers beating the Miami Dolphins, the Green Bay Packers over the Houston Texans, Cleveland Browns against the Cincinnati Bengals, Detroit Lions over Atlanta Falcons, Pittsburgh over Tennessee, Seattle over Arizona, San Francisco over New England, Kansas City over Denver, Tampa Bay beating Las Vegas, and lastly, the Los Angeles Rams beating the Chicago Bears. My lock of the week this week is going to be the Green Bay Packers beating the Houston Texans, and my upset of the week is going to be Carolina Panthers beating the New Orleans Saints. All right, guys, this has been another episode of the Randall Handles Football Podcast. Thank you all for listening.
I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team, much less an NFL team. When you turn the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 3 others in field position to set up touchdowns, you ain't gonna beat anybody I just talked about. Anybody. All right? And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked. What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.